Hola chicos, so today we're going to be talking about stem changing verbs. So we're going to focus on two types of stem changing. One step that is E to IE, and then the other one that is O to UE. So here's what I want to talk to you before. Let's review a little bit about regular verbs. So we've learned about regular verbs. We have three types of irregular verbs. We have AR, ER, and IR verbs. So we have, in here we have hablar, correr, and escribir. And we have their endings, AR, ER, and IR. Now here's very important to know. When we conjugate regular verbs, the first thing we're going to do is drop that ending, right? So we're left with this part when we drop those AR, ER, or IR endings. We're left with what we call the stem. Now here's very important. When we conjugate regular verbs, we do not change that stem. When we conjugate and the stem stays the same and we just have hablo, hablas, habla, hablamos, habláis, hablan, corro, corres, corre, corremos, corres, corren, etc., etc., etc. So this is how we do regular verbs. Now here's the important thing. What are stem changing verbs? So stem changing verbs are different. They are a little bit different. They deviate from that regular pattern from regular verbs. Sorry about that. So for example, we have this infinitive. We have empezar and volver. So when we conjugate these two verbs, these are stem changing verbs. Now, just like the name says it, stem changing, that means that there's going to be a change in the stem. So the first thing we're going to do is drop the ending, right? So we drop the ending and we're left with that part of the stem. Now notice those highlighted vowels. Those are the ones that are going to do a stem change. And here's how it's going to look. We're going to change this E into IE and the O into UE. So that's the stem change that they're going to do. And then the ending is going to be whatever ending from regular verbs we use. O, as, a, amos, ais, an, if it's an AR verb, or O is hemos, eis, and if it's ER verb, or O es, imos, is, and if it's an IR verb. So in this case, we have empiezo or vuelvo. So that's how we work with stem changing verbs. So here's an example. And it's very important that you notice this and you take notes of this. In stem changing verbs, all the conjugations are going to change except the forms of nosotros and vosotros. So look at that. You have a stem change in all of the other ones, but vosotros and nosotros are going to keep that same regular verb. They don't change a stem. So that's a note that we have to remember. So let's go ahead and look at the verbs that are E to IE and then O to UE. So we have cerrar, comenzar, empezar, pensar, entender, perder, querer, preferir. And then for O to UE, it's almorzar, encontrar, mostrar, recordar, contar, poder, volver, and dormir. Now, very important to notice, chicos, when you have three syllables, people always wonder which one is the one that's going to do that stem changing. All right, so it can never be the syllable that has the ending. So never ever that syllable that's like the AR, ER, or IR. It has to be the next one. So it's always the second to last syllable. So for comenzar, it would be this E. For empezar, it would be this E in the middle with the P. Pensar would be this E. Entender would be the ten, which is the second to last. Perder would be this first one. Querer would be this first one. For preferir, it would be the second to last. So it would be this one, okay, second to last syllable. Almorzar would be this O. Encontrar would be this O. Mostrar, this O. So if you notice, it's always the second to last syllable that it's going to have that stem changing verb. Now notice this, please. The verb jugar is actually a U to UE verb. It's the only one that does that stem changing. And we've learned the verb jugar in the past, so you should already know how to do this one. All right, so let's look at how do we conjugate this verb. Let's take the verb pensar. The verb pensar is an E to IE verb. So we have the verb pensar, and the first thing we're going to do is take off the ending. Now let's remember the rules. All conjugations are going to change, except the nosotros and vosotros stems are not going to change. So what we can do is go ahead and take this stem and go ahead and write it over nosotros and vosotros. It's done. We already have it. So now we have to do the stem changing. So that E is going to go away. We're going to change it into IE. So that means our new stem is going to look like this, piens. And so now we can write the stem on all the other ones. Okay, and so what do we do now? Well, this is an AR verb, so we use our normal AR verb endings. Pienso, piensas, piensa, pensamos, pensáis, piensan. Okay, so let's do another example. Preferir. Here's our verb. First thing we do, take off that IR ending. Now we remember that the nosotros and the vosotros conjugations will not change the stem, so we can go ahead and write them down. Okay, so now we're going to change the stem. So remember, it's going to be that middle syllable that's going to change right here because we already took the ending, so this would be the middle syllable. So that E is going to change into IE. Okay, so this would be our prefiere, would be our stem change. And now we're going to write it in all of them. There we go. And this is an IR verb, so we just add our ending. O, es, e, imos, is, en. All right, so let's look at another example. We have the verb recordar. This is an O to UE. Okay, so the first thing we do, we write our verb right there. And then the second thing we're going to do is take off that ending. Now remember, again, the rule says that all conjugations are going to change except the vosotros and nosotros conjugations, so you can go ahead and just write them now. And then we're going to change our stem, so that O is going to change into UE. And then we're going to write our new stem, recuerd. And then what do? We take that stem and we write it on all the other ones. And now we just add our endings. It's an AR verb, so it would be O, as, a, amos, ais, an. Now, chicos, it's really important that you're careful in here because the biggest mistakes people make are in spelling the stem. They change the stem, but they forget letters. You have to go through this process very carefully so that you don't make spelling mistake. It's a lot of practicing, but you get used to it and it doesn't get so hard. All right, chicos, now let's talk about specific verbs, and we're going to talk about meanings with verbs. So you've been working on your sways, but I just want to talk about a few things. We have the verb comenzar and the verb empezar, which both of them mean to begin. Now, usually when we're using comenzar and empezar, we're saying I am going to begin to work, or I begin to work, or I begin to study. So if we notice, we usually use these verbs with other verbs to say that we're starting to do something. So in this case, it's for both the verb comenzar and empezar. Anytime we're going to use it to say that we begin to do an activity, we have to use it with the preposition a. Por ejemplo, comienzan a jugar a las 7. They begin to play at 7, or they begin playing at 7. Ana empieza a escribir una postal. Ana starts to write a postcard. Ana's starting to write a postcard. Now, this is very important because not all verbs need that preposition a. Many times we can just put the two verbs together and it will be fine. But in this case, for the verb comenzar and the verb empezar, we have to add that preposition a. So please make sure that you take notes of this. Now, let's look at the verb pensar. The verb pensar, as you looked at your meanings, had different meanings depending on how we use them. So when you have pensar in an infinitive, that means that you plan or intend to do something. Por ejemplo, ¿piensas jugar a las 7? Do you plan to play at 7? Now, if you use pensar en, that means that you're thinking about someone or something. So, pienso en trabajar aquí. Or ella piensa en trabajar aquí. She's thinking about working here. Or if I say something like, yo pienso en hacer la tarea. I'm thinking about doing my homework, so it has a different meaning. So let's just talk also about the verb jugar now. The verb jugar, for the most part, when we use it, we're going to make it followed by the preposition a. then the definite article, and then the name of the sport. Now, I told you that most of us as native speakers, we don't do that. We just say jugar béisbol. We don't say jugar al béisbol. But grammatically speaking, we are supposed to use it. So for especially the Vista homework, go ahead and add that to it so that you get this part correctly. Okay, but honestly, when we're speaking as native speakers, we just never use it. For example, ella juega. All right, so now chicos, you're gonna go to conjuguemos.com and you're gonna do the stem changing verb practice. You have to do 5 minutes of the graded practice, guys. And also, just so you guys know, the Vista homework is about stem changing verbs. So all of this video and tomorrow's videos is gonna help you a lot with this. So let me know if you have any questions, and that will be all, chicos. Adios.